I want to be fully transparent with you guys and really give you the mindset of what it took as someone who was overweight, working 50-hour weeks, and just was not in a great mental state. My name's Ethan.Couper, and I'm an online fitness coach who helps blue collar men in the trades lose weight without jeopardizing their whole entire life. The reason why I'm making this video is because I want to share some valuable insights that you can take into your life and maybe you can connect or reflect on. And I want to talk to you guys a little bit about my situation and who I genuinely am as a person. So, I grew up basically being overweight my whole life. I really just never had a good relationship with food, and it was a result of a lot of things and issues that I didn't heal. But the biggest part was I had a very bad emotional trigger to food. So, if I was stressed out, I would result into food. If I was sitting down bored, I would result to food. And over the course of my life, I started to realize that I was never really happy with the person I was. And as a result of that, I would kind of hermit up and then self isolate and blame myself for a lot of these things. But the reason why I'm making this video is because those things don't define you as a person. And it's hard to be in a place when you're so far away from the person you want to be that the slightest step taking into a positive direction seems impossible. And that's where I was. And maybe if you're watching this video, that's where you are and you want to make a change for yourself. And that was exactly what I experienced from graduating high school. I went into the trade, I started working, and that became my life. I was basically a default to just showing up, working very hard, just being stressed out, and then coming home. And then after I'd come home, I'd basically just make excuses and I would sit there on the couch. I would eat food. I would doom scroll on my phone. And then the weekend would roll around, I would do absolutely nothing. I would do nothing, but I'd resort to junk food. And it wasn't until I looked in the mirror one day and quite honestly, I took this one video. I took a video of myself and I looked in it and I saw a reflection of a path. Like it was almost like God presented me this path and this vision of the future of where I was walking down and the person I was becoming. And it's like I was anxious, I was depressed, I was a people pleaser. I would lean into everything else instead of focusing on the things I needed to improve on. And as a result of that, I wouldn't attach to my own identity, I would attach to what other people perceived of me. And it's hard to accept that as someone who struggles with mental health. Even right now, I do. But the way I broke free from this suffering was I genuinely looked, I genuinely told myself, I'm going to make a change. I am going to do something. And this is where most people get things wrong. You think that you want to make a change and then it's just going to magically change and everything's going to be picture perfect. Like, I'm going to tell you this right now. I have fallen down on my knees like 8 million times. Not maybe not 8 million times, but I've fallen down on my knees a numerous amount of times and I've failed in my fat loss journey. Hence the reason why I actually gave up on my first cut and then got really fat the second time. Because I was already fat to begin with, and then I starved myself for an excessive period of time because I thought no calories meant losing weight, which ended up just destroying myself. And then I rebounded back into eating a bunch of food. And so I got to a point where I started to build myself up again and I started to take matters seriously the second time around. And in that process, it wasn't easy. I failed. I've screwed up. I've missed water intakes. I've missed weigh-ins. I've missed just a lot of things. And what I found from my mistakes is that the more you try to beat yourself up about them, the further away you become from the person you want to be. Because a winner is someone who not only doesn't become a loser and achieve something and just stays to their word, but a winner is able to accept their faults and take that extreme ownership. Shout out Jocko Willnick if you haven't seen his book or read his book, Extreme Ownership. I highly advise you do. And taking ownership over your life. I took ownership over the errors, the flaws I had, and I started to stop lying to myself, which meant lying to the world. And there's this fine correlation between losing weight, and there's this correlation between building your identity of someone who's in shape and loses weight, but also on that path, you're building an honest, trustful person that you develop through your actions, which is awesome because you kind of see the best of both worlds on that path. And the second I started to take extreme accountability over my life, things started to change. I started to write down and accept my flaws. No matter how bad it hurt and how negative I was at the start, I had to face my fears and take that next step. And that's part of the reason why I got into endurance training. The byproduct of my fat loss led me to signing up for a half marathon because I wanted to continue to prove to myself I could do things. I wanted to show to myself that no matter what, I will show up and do the work. It doesn't matter what the day brings me. And that's the mindset I had to adapt. And a lot of guys in the trade struggle with this because you have a lot of commitments in your life and you say you don't have enough time. And I've been there before. I genuinely still get there sometimes. But the thing you need to understand is you cannot impact the world. You cannot show up for other people if you can't show up for yourself. And by showing up for yourself, it means doing the things that you tell yourself you're going to do and then taking action on those things and making sure that you stay consistent with those things. And to stay consistent, that is when you build systems inside your life to make everything 10 times easier, because we all know that there's something out there called resistance. And the more resistance you put between your goals, the harder it's going to be and the more effort you're going to have to put to achieve them. And that's where I really had a good spurt. And coming out of my marathon now, I've really struggled to rebuild those systems because I got used to a routine for so long, which I'm extremely grateful for. But I just want to show you guys full transparency that even though I achieved that result and I still am working towards it, I still experience my systems breaking. And that is the loop and the difference between someone who works a corporate job or someone has a set day-to-day shift where they show up this time to this time compared to a guy who works in the trades. And a guy who works in the trades does not have the same consistent schedule all the time. And that's the reason why it's so hard for a lot of us to adapt to a schedule and stay on to our results. So if you had systems built out so that you would have everything else handled except for your work routine or maybe where your job is, it'd be impossible for you to fail because you have already handled the objections before you even got to them. And by getting that and by adapting that mindset and adapting that ability, you are now able to succeed and have a higher likelihood of succeeding. Now you've made a conscious promise to yourself, and now you have a plan, so there's no excuse in between those time frames. You know when you're going to be home and you know when you're off work. And now you can just execute on those things. It's like everything's planned out and everything's good to go. And I wish someone told me that sooner because that really was the biggest problem I had when it came to losing weight. And now I see it with my clients too. I see that they're progressing a lot quicker than I did. And that's quite honestly why I'm making this video. And so if you are a blue collar worker and you're over 30 years old, you have kids, you have bills to pay, you have a job, you have uneven shifts, whatever you want to call it, I understand where you're coming from. I've been there before and I still live through that. And I'm here to tell you that even I have to pick myself up at times. But I'm human, and I'd be lying to this camera right now if I didn't say that. If I said, oh my goodness, it's such sunshine and rainbows all the time. But what I'm telling you is how I broke free from the suffering and stepping into a better reality was by proving to myself that I am who I say I am and doing the things without hesitation. And that alone is what true confidence and fulfillment is. And if you've made it to the end of this video and you're struggling to lose weight right now, click the link below. I have a free link. You can book a call one-on-one with me and we can talk about your current situation and we can go over your current situation and I can give you the best guidance that I possibly can.